Elise exhaled deeply after the meeting was over. Even she herself didn't expect it to go so smoothly. These project managers had been difficult to work with during her last few visits. She looked at John, who was standing at the door. He must have frightened them earlier.
You guys keep a close eye on this side. Let me know first thing if anything happens.
Elise finished her instructions and walked out. She saw that John kept staring at her, and she started blushing. Returning to her shy little girl self again.
Why do you keep looking at me?
'Cause you're pretty.
My goodness, did this uncle always praise others so directly? Did homeless people rely on having a glib tongue to get food? Elise's phone started ringing. She took it out. It was Mary.
Mom, what is it?
She immediately heard the pitiful cry of her mother on the other side, and her face instantly darkened.
Mom. What happened? Who hit you? I'll be there in a minute. Someone hit Mom.
Get into the car.
The engine of the BMW resounded loudly like it was angry too. John made a sharp turn and headed for the bank. On the way, Elise couldn't help but start crying.
My mom has never been bullied so badly before. She's such a strong person.
Mary had been detained by the bank and they accused her of stealing. How could this be? Even if her family had to die hungry from their poverty, they would never stoop this low.
Even my dad can't bear to scold her. Someone actually had the guts to hit her.
John didn't say a word and floored the accelerator. Back at the general manager's office in the bank. Mary's hair was all messed up, and there were still those finger marks on her face. After she hung up, she didn't say any more but continued to cry.
If your family can't explain this, then we will have no choice but to call the police.
Just as he finished speaking, the office door was kicked open. The door nearly broke into several pieces. The two security guards saw that they had a violent guest and took out their tasers. The general manager and teller went pale from fright.
Security. Where are the security guards? Call everyone in.
John simply went forward and grabbed the general manager by the collar.
This is my mother. And you dared to hit her.
The general manager was trembling. He didn't expect this auntie's son to be this violent.
Your mom stole something and you dare to make trouble. Call the police, quick.
The teller hadn't even finished speaking when John gave her a slap. Her mouth was instantly filled with blood. That fierce look on John made the general manager shake in fear.
Stole something?
John took one look at the card in the general manager's hands.
You mean this card? I gave it to her to buy groceries. Is there a problem?
Do you know what sort of card this is? Buy groceries? What nonsense.
This sort of special card required the card owner to have $1 billion in the bank. Who uses a card like this to buy groceries? Did he think he had made it as a bank manager by daydreaming? John loosened his grip and took out his phone. He quickly dialed a foreign number, and there was a voice on the other side in no time.
Get your bank union CEO on the phone now. Brody, looks like I'm not eligible to use these cards you sent me. A mere bank manager of one of your subsidiaries in Newark is questioning me.
The moment he heard what John said, the Caucasian man on the other end of the line immediately shuddered. He signaled to his staff to use GPS to locate John.
Mr. Crawford, I am very sorry about this. I will settle this for you right now.
John hung up the phone and walked over to Mary.
Mom, I'm sorry. It's my fault this happened to you.
Mary still did not say a word. Elise was panting when she ran into the office. She saw Mary had cried her eyes out and felt her heart ache, and ran over to hug her. A few dozen security guards had already surrounded the general manager's office.
Manager. Call the police. Arrest them all.
The teller shrieked as she covered her face. But the general manager's face was ashen. He saw the number that John had called earlier. That was the Global Bank Union's VIP customer service hotline. In no time, the office phone rang and the general manager felt his body shudder. He looked at John, but John didn't bother about him.
Hello? President Thompson.
Are you freaking blind? You dare to question a VIP guest of the bank union? I don't want to die even if you want to. I'm going to retire soon, but now I might be fired. If you don't settle this properly, I'll kill you.
The moment he hung up, the branch manager called and scolded him so hard. Wishing he could come out from the phone and bite the general manager to death. The general manager couldn't hear what his manager was saying anymore. His entire mind was now empty and had exploded. VIP guest of the bank union? John said earlier that it was the union CEO who personally sent this card to him. He couldn't help but gulp, then started coughing violently. Doomed. He was doomed.
Manager, do we still call the police?
Call the police?
The general manager swung around and slapped the teller hard on the face.
Call the police, my foot. Who treats a VIP customer like you do?
The general manager immediately fell to his knees.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. It's my fault. All this is my fault. I failed to realize who you were and I looked down on you. I hope you can forgive me, please forgive me.
He slapped himself repeatedly. John still couldn't be bothered. The iciness on his face sent chills through the general manager's entire body. He knew that if this auntie didn't forgive him, he would have to die here. This was a VIP customer of the bank union. And this card was sent personally by the CEO even. Nowhere in the world would anybody dare to offend a customer like that.
Auntie, this is my fault, I'm very sorry, you can hit me or scold me, but please give me a chance. I beg you.
The general manager crawled to where Mary was and started to kowtow to her. His forehead started bleeding almost instantly.
Auntie, please let me off. I have a family to take care of and I really can't get into trouble. I will bear all responsibility otherwise, but please I beg you to let me off.
Mary looked at this incredibly pitiful-looking general manager. He wasn't like that just now. She was very tired and feeling very upset. She had never been humiliated like this before.
Elise, I want to go home.
Mom, I'll bring you home.
Elise glanced at John. He nodded and she left with Mary. All the security guards at the door immediately made way for them and didn't dare to block them at all. Who dared to now? Their general manager was still kneeling on the floor.
Who slapped my mom just now?
John waited until Elise and Mary left before asking. The guilty security guard had just managed to get up from the floor and his face paled immediately. He felt like his heart was going to stop.
Whichever hand you used, break it yourself. Don't trouble me to do it for you.
John only threw him a glance, then turned and left. The moment he walked out of the office door, there was a loud crack from inside, followed by a blood-curdling scream.
This marks the end of chapter 17. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel and comment any other novel you would like to be featured here.